Hi guys, this is a Forgetful Scholar and let's chat about books. So this week, how do I describe this week? Okay, so let's see. A classic, a Lost Family Journal, a Wallflower Christmas, and Firenado? Yeah. I think that pretty much covers this week. Okay, so the first book, and this one's the classic, and it is a revisit for me every holiday season. I kind of get the urge to read some Jane Austen. I know that sounds super pretentious, but no, trust me, I'm not. Like, far from it. But this year, I reread Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I like how beautiful this book is. Like, isn't it so pretty? This book was a gift a couple years ago from my older sister, so thanks again. Oh, well, that's Remy, my dog. Cool. Okay. All right. We good? Okay. So, I mean, there's not much to say for this one. 5 stars. It's a classic. I can't imagine people who haven't either like read it or seen something about it or like a show or a movie or anything like that, or an adaptation like Bridget Jones's Diary, I believe, was like the modernized kind of version of this. It's Elizabeth Bennet, who is amazing, and Mr. Darcy, which is also amazing. I remember in high school I didn't read it when it was required reading, and then my English teacher put on the A&E 6-hour version with Colin Firth, I believe, and I was obsessed. I was super obsessed. So as soon as we finished that in class, I read it cover to cover, and it's sort of my gateway romance novel. It's sort of the one that got me started on romance. You know, Who's Pride, Who's Prejudice. I've always felt that they were both, and at different times. And I recently watched a documentary about Jane Austen, and then revisiting this book after watching that, it kind of had like a bittersweet air to it because it obviously was sort of like a reversion of history for her, you know, like a correction of an event for her. And I was like, oh. So that kind of had a little bit of a sweet, bittersweet kind of air to it with that. So that's 5 stars. That's the first one. I didn't want to bother you guys too much with it because we all know the plot. Like I said, we've all seen something to do with it, and it's glorious. So let's move on. So the other two, the next two, I should say. Ooh, that's close. Okay. The next two, I should say. Okay, so how do I describe this? I think I might have to talk about these two at the same time. I read A Wallflower Christmas by Lisa Claypez. And I believe it has... There we go. Okay. Yeah. And then after this, I wasn't planning on reading this one, but I read The Present from Johanna Lindsey, and it's an old one, and like it's kind of beat up. Because I remember reading this once years ago and never revisiting it. So there's that. And I'll say why I read that one too, because I kind of, reading this, I was wondering if I didn't like holiday romance novels. Maybe that was it. So that's why I checked that one out to kind of see if that was the case, that I just didn't like romance novels taking place during Christmas. Because I know a lot of people are going to come for me, but 1 star. 1 star. Wow. Lisa Claypez, what happened? Like, girl, what happened? Okay, so this is a novella, too. It's only about 200 pages. See, the thing is, Raph Bowen, who is Lillian and Daisy's older brother, he comes to England because there's this heiress he's supposed to marry or might marry. That's like a tentative engagement because the Bowens are filthy rich, like Bill Gates style of wealthy in that time period, you know? And so he comes to England like that for that. And the thing is, I get it with these books. There's a lot of revisiting of older characters to see where they are in life and things like that, which is fine. You know what? You expect it. I did not expect the majority of this book to be taken up by the Wallflowers. Like, that was a little too much. And there was a lot of, because, you know, writing 101, they tell you show, not tell, right? So for this, there was so much tell, not show, especially for a professional writer. That was odd. That was odd. That was odd. I enjoyed Raph and Hannah's character, like the characters. I found the plot super boring. In fact, I haven't read Daisy's story, The Last of the Wallflower Stories, yet, because I thought this came before it, but I was mistaken. And I tried to read this a couple times and I kept putting it down. Not my usual forgetful, oh, where I put that book, oh, look, something shiny, I got distracted, kind of forgetful. But like, even for 200 pages, this was kind of hard to get through because I found it boring. Sorry, found it boring. It was just... Okay, so Natalie is the lady that he comes there. She's supposed to be the one that he's gonna get married, and her paid companion, who is her cousin, who's like the poor side of the family, Hannah. Now, I'm noticing a pattern with Lisa Claypez right now, where a lot of her females in this time period are super snotty, like snobby in the beginning when they meet like a working man. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that's just what she likes to write, which is fair enough, but there are other personality types. You know, I've read, you know, stories where you put other personality types in there. So, okay. Hannah, this is a Hannah and Raph story. I want to say that because sometimes I was like, who the fuck is the main characters in this? Is this a sequel for Lily and Marcus? The second Wallflower book? Is that what's happening? Is it? Because that feels like it. So the Wallflowers get together and they're talking about why Raph is coming. And in exposition, Lillian's like, because he's lonely. Which, okay, thanks for telling me, kind of. You could have had Raph think that and shown that in like a second, because you know, you're a very good, talented writer. So, turns out that's not why he's come here to marry Lady Natalie at all. Anyway, so, okay. And there was so much of the Wallflowers in this. Like, really. And the thing is, this is a romance novel. And it's only 200 pages. I get that. So the first time Raph and Hannah meet, he kisses her. Cool. Fine. Whatever. I mean, he did say this is how... I didn't like this quote that he said. This is how men in America court ladies, and if they don't like the kiss, we'll kiss them again until they do. I was like, ooh, no. Could you not with the little rapey stuff? Thanks. No thanks. You didn't have to say that at all. I honestly, sometimes I felt this book, like, she had to, like, had a word count or a page count that she had to reach because, yeah, so Hannah's kind of snobby because, you know, Bowen is an American industrialist and he made his own fortune because their father is a douche nozzle. And he's like, yeah, so what? I'm not going to work in the soap business. Bye. So he made his own money in stock market. And he's like, and I like Raph because he's very funny. I like the funny, don't take themselves too seriously rogues. I just do. He's a rank. I just do. I like it. If you're on this channel for a bit, you know that I like it. So let's move on. So he's kind of very charming and seemingly doesn't take stuff seriously. And she's like, well, you know, you work for a living. He's like, don't you? She's like, no, I don't get a wage. I get an allowance. And he's like, what do you do for that allowance? And she's basically a maid for her cousin. And he's like, yeah, okay. Like, he doesn't say anything after it, but is pretty, like, obvious to the reader, at least to me. But, like, no, the bitch gets paid. Like, she's not... Yeah, and then she works as a secretary for the scientist. So I don't understand why she's so like, oh, wages considered like lowly, but you work as a secretary for the scientist guy and you enjoy it. So that was a little weird. That was really, really weird. It's like, Hannah, pick a lane. Lisa Claypez, pick a lane to pick Hannah in and leave her there. Put her in and leave her there. Thanks. Because, like, I don't know what's going on with her. Does she have like instant amnesia? Forgot that she has like 2 jobs? Okay. Um, so, it's attraction on Rav's end, and he kisses her like in the first chapter or so, which was fun because I get it. It's 200 pages, gotta be quick. I still felt the story plot wasn't very interesting. He has to marry Natalie because his father picked her out, and if he doesn't, then he doesn't get stock or doesn't get control, like doesn't take over the business that he was groomed to forever. But then also that doesn't seem like a good jeopardizing kind of thing, like it almost seemed like he didn't really care about it, so we didn't really care about it. And Natalie, I thought, was, at first, she seemed sweet. Natalie and Hannah seemed to have like a really good relationship. Later, Natalie shows herself to be like a snobby and entitled little princess. At one point, like, a maid finds like a burnt up love letter in Raph's room and takes it, and you can't tell who it's from. And as the reader, obviously it's for Hannah. Like, there was no suspense, like, oh, who does he like? Like, there was none of that. For me, there was no suspense in that fashion. And Natalie's like, oh, of course it's for me. Like, men just love me. I'm the best, obviously. I was like, someone throw her out the window. Thank you. Okay. So, spoiler alert, not spoiler alert, Hannah and Raph obviously end up together. And they are the main characters. I feel like I need to repeat that. Because, again, it didn't really feel like that. Because, for some reason, they had, like, one love scene where it was like, they got to third base and then Raph stopped. Which is fine because they were like in the living room or the drawing room or something, so that's fine. But like Evie and St. Vincent, we got a scene with them. We got a scene with Lily and Marcus, a love scene with them. We have an implied scene of like Simon coming home and taking, the first Wallflower, what is the name? Annabeth upstairs. Really? Daisy's on her honeymoon but comes for Christmas to her family and everything. So I'm just like, and we got a like more graphic love scene with Lily and Marcus and Simon and Evie than we did with the main characters. Like, the main characters, it wasn't even a completed love scene. It was more like a ramp up to a love scene, That stops, and then the next time they have a love scene, they go all the way. So it was very strange. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's a plot point where Lillian thinks Marcus is cheating on her. And that's the couple from the second book. Like, she's like, oh no, he's too honorable to physically cheat. But I think he's emotionally cheating because he has this female friend, you see. And I'm just like, whose book is this? I'm going to stop it there before I really go off. So, 1 star. I did not enjoy this. And this, after reading this, I went to Johanna Lindsey's The Present, the book that I showed you that's all ripped and badly taken care of because I'm the worst. Now, to be fair, this is a full book. It's not a novella, so that is to take into consideration. And for Lisa Claypez with the novella, it did seem really, really rushed. And that annoyed me because she kept putting in plot points from other people. And I'm like, if you didn't do that, if you just focused on Wrath and Hannah, maybe this wouldn't feel like someone hit the fast forward button. Wait, no, I said I would stop talking about that one. Okay, The Present from Johanna Lindsey. This is a Malory and Anderson family book number 6. So this is actually this is interesting, and it's one of the books like the other one where you kind of catch up on older couples that you've read in the past. On this one, I had no trouble knowing who the main couple was. And this one, there was 2 main couples, and I had no trouble. I did not, even when Amy and Warren scenes came up, or like Jason and George scenes came up, none of them stole the spotlight or like felt like it was put in there for word count, So basically, the Malorys are in the oldest brother's estate in the country. His name is Jason. And they're having Christmas. And his son, Derek, just got married, and that was the book before, if you follow this series, Love Only Once, I believe. And someone finds an old family journal, and the family has like rumors that there was like they have a Romani ancestry, and that's why Amy is so badass. Amy, still love her. Um, so the family journal is about their ancestor Christopher and their ancestor Anastasia. I always have trouble. Like, I never know which is the better way to pronounce that name. So both. Here we go. Now, like all the couples, you kind of check in on them as they're reading the story. And the thing is, they're reading the story about Christopher and Anastasia. And so that's how you get Anastasia and Christopher's point of view, because you kind of fall into the journal, world. Literally, it's like reading Inception. We're reading when other people are reading, and that's the story. Yet at no point did I feel like they were telling me and not showing me. And the thing is, this journal directly mirrors or closely mirrors what's going on with the older brother, Jason. Now, the older brother, Jason, his wife, I always forget her name. I just finished it, still forgot her name, wrote it down, forgot the book. I wrote it down downstairs. So we're just gonna keep going. She basically has spent their whole marriage in Bath because she's a sickly thing. I think Frances, I think so, or Beatrice, one of those. She comes home and she wants a divorce because she's fallen in love and she wants to marry her lover. Spoiler alert, they don't have a real marriage. Derek's not her son. I know. Derek is actually the son of Jason and Molly, who has always been the housekeeper there. And the thing is, Jason and Molly's character and Christopher and Anastasia's character, nothing new, a little boring. We've seen it a million times before. But I find the storyline, the plot of Jason and Molly much more interesting because basically Jason has been in love with her since he was like 20 and she just started there. So basically they have like, they're not married, but they have like a hidden secret marriage for like 30 years now. So it's kind of very interesting and very sweet about that, and instead of being sleazy, it could have easily been sleazy. It's very sweet and adorable. Now, the wife wants a divorce. And the thing is about this book, what I didn't like then and I still don't like now is that the wife, Beatrice or Frances, sorry, honey, I'm afraid I forgot your name, is kind of villainized because her husband never loved her. She found someone that wants to marry her and loves her, and she wants to get divorced to marry her. But everyone's like, oh, is she, well, not everyone, but they're like, is she crazy? She knows what she was getting into. She should just not do this. And I was like, she definitely gets villainized, which I never thought was fair. Still don't think it's fair. Never thought that was fair. This book is definitely 2-star for me, better than the other one. And I'm thinking maybe I just don't like holiday books, maybe that's the thing. Because the villainizing of the wife, or going to be ex-wife, didn't like. I found the 4 main characters kind of boring. So that's kind of why. So basically Jason talks to his brothers and he's like, you know what? I love Molly. I want the divorce to go through and marry Molly. And he thought Thomas, who's the brother just under him, and they've always been really close, would be on his side. But no, Thomas is like, are you crazy? That's going to be a huge scandal, blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, the 2 brothers, who are James Malory, who is the gentleman pirate that we've talked about before, and Tony, who is my favorite lovable rank. And this is after their books, so they're married, and like there's a few children and things like that from their marriages. And those 2 are like, yeah, divorce that crazy lady, marry Molly. You're in the country. You never leave the country. Who cares? Like, who cares about the scandal? Our family is powerful enough that who gives a shit? They're like, who gives a shit? Be happy, bro. So, which is just really sweet. They're like, who cares? Just be happy. So the journal kind of teaches Jason, that love is more important than a scandal. Because Christopher marrying Anastasia, he didn't want to do it because of the scandal, but he really loved her until she basically had a a friend of hers took her to the ton and introduced her as like a foreign heiress. I believe Spaniard heiress. Okay. So Jason and Anastasia have a happy ending. Jason and Molly have a happy ending. It's inferred that they did get married because, like, at the end of it, he's like, Molly, I've been asking you forever, marry me because I'm getting divorced, whatever, no matter what. So she says yes, but on the condition that no one really knows. And I'm assuming the family knows because he already talked to his brothers about it. And the thing about this book, it doesn't seem to affect the universe this family is in because you never hear about it again. The books that follow, they never mention Molly. They never talk about how Jason never leaves the estates. It's never mentioned. The divorce, his divorce from Francis or Beatrice, sorry, is not mentioned. So it's such a weird like little pocket universe, and I'm like, is this canon? Is this a fan fiction? What is happening here? So if you're gonna read that, know that it doesn't seem to affect anything in the world around it. So that's that one. That is the Lost Family Journal. That is 2 stars. Now, the Firenado one is Threshold, a Whyborne and Griffin novel by Jordan L. Hawk, and this is the second one. And we've read the first one before. This Jordan L. Hawk likes to do H.P. Lovecraft, historical, happy ending books. So this is the second one. And this one wasn't very long. And took me a while to read it because I just wasn't in the mood for like ex-boyfriend drama. But I'm happy I did read it because it is fantastic. Well, fantastic. I guess compared to the other 2 I read, fantastic. I would give it overall a 3 stars. I like the first book better. So this is why, okay, I'm going to get to 3 stars. Okay. So basically, Whyborne and Griffin are invited to his father's house for dinner because he has a job for him. And Griffin sees the huge estate and gets very insecure about it. And the mother comes down because, you know, we've seen her before. She's sickly, but she's awesome. And she comes down because she specifically wants to meet Griffin because she knows her son. I'm sorry. I was just like looking at the camera and then it looked like my glasses looked like I was giving me a unibrow. I don't have a unibrow, guys. There you go. Okay. So she comes down to meet Griffin specifically because she knows her son and she knows, Griffin's very important to him. And when she's leaving, because they have to talk business, so when she's leaving, she's like, he's very handsome. And Whitebird's like, Mom! You know, it's very cute. I really like the mom. I hope she's going to be okay because she's sickly, but I really like her. So the father hires them to go to a town called Threshold where his coal mines are because coal miners are disappearing. And he knows Whyborne, you know, has some abilities. Because remember, in the first book, Whyborne basically got a fire spell. And side note, again, beautiful cover. Okay. This one, it's almost like Whyborne leveled up like in a video game because he's also been practicing a wind spell. You get what I'm saying when I say Firenado? Okay. So they go to investigate. And Whyborne's really worried about Griffin because, you know, he can't go underground. He gets PTSD from what happened to him before. They meet Griffin's ex, Elliot Manning, and he's gorgeous and charming. And Whyborne's like, oh, I'm ugly and gangly. What is he doing with me? You know, he could be with someone else. It's a big book about insecurity. Like, this is kind of typical second love, you know, romance book where there's like insecurities are popping up everywhere. So this is that one. I can't say too much about the H.P. Lovecraft monster involved. And I will say that this monster has always given me the heebie-jeebies more than the others. Just something about it. And again, because if you know H.P. Lovecraft lore, you're going to understand it right away. And I don't want to take that kind of surprise and clue finding away from you. So I'm going to try really hard not to talk about that. Basically, they are disappearing And there's a huge, and I will say the fighting and the chase scenes in this phenomenal. They were really, really good. Maybe I have to up the star level. Anyway, they were really good. The star level is a 3 because it was kind of shorter. The pacing was a little off. Like what I thought was going to be an earlier in the book conflict only came up later in the third act, but it wasn't the third act conflict. So I expected ex-boyfriend jealousy argument to pop up, and I kept waiting for it. It didn't happen until the third act, and it wasn't the third act conflict either. So it was a little off for me. Not horribly so. Still absolutely adore this author. It was fantastic. Maybe if that argument happened a little sooner, the pacing wouldn't have felt so rushed or like, oh, I have to put this in, so let me shove it in here kind of moment. Like I forgot to put it in before, let me shove it in here kind of moment. So I would say kind of like that maybe. Again, phenomenal though. I love it. I can't wait to read the third one. So basically in this huge fight, which the fighting scenes really, really good. Like really, really good. I can't imagine how difficult that is to write. Whyborne has to combine his fire spell with his air spell. See what I'm saying when I say Firenado? Like, yes, it didn't like touch down, but on the town itself, but that's the only thing I could picture when they were describing it, which was really fucking badass. Like, you go, Whyborne, you go. And there's a happy ending in this. And let's just say for the ex, Elliot, I am happy with what happened to him. I do no mercy given. He deserves it. Fuck that guy. Okay. So that has been my week. Sorry I'm a little like about everything. Just kind of disappointed for 2 of the books, you know, especially the Wallflower series. I'm surprised that happened. So I don't want to, but it's time for me to get back to the real world. Like, comment, subscribe. See ya.